Hello everybody and welcome back to the West Ham Network. Well, my name's Anton here, giving you a bit of an update regarding one particular player this morning. Now, what's interesting about the discussions I'm going to have with you just now is that when, over the past few seasons, West Ham have entered the transfer market, because the transfer window is open, we have always been linked to an abundance of players. And the ones that sometimes you feel like we get close to signing, they end up disappearing to another club. And West Ham always go, well, what's wrong with our transfer system? And we always have that element of jealousy in terms of the Brighton model, which we talk about quite a lot on the channel, but also you as West Ham fans do talk about a lot. And just to name a few players as that example, it could be Onana. You know, the difference between West Ham trying to get him over the line and paying the money that he was due to get when he went to Everton, now at Aston Villa. And there's several other examples of that, but you always do hear of these types of player, maybe some of the unheard of players in the world in Europe that West Ham somehow get linked to and never actually get over the line. And nothing's really different with the player that I'm going to discuss with you just now, and that is Raphael Onyedika. Who is he and where is he come from? Now, rumours are rife stating that West Ham have actually agreed personal terms. Now, I don't know how true that is, but I do think that West Ham are in some element of negotiation with Club Brugge, because what you do tend to find is that when a player's name is mentioned day after day, and things start to snowball, then you start to put two and two together and think, well, agents and some source within the club are suggesting that West Ham are in an element of negotiation. So I do think there's an element of truth in Onyedika. But remember, please remember, that's not coming from a place of facts. That's not coming from a place of ITK. We've always stipulated that we will come to you with truth, with what we know, what's in front of us. So we are not ITKs and we don't proclaim to be, but we'll try and look at the situation and think, is there an element of truth in it? And I can't help but think that there could be some truth in Onyedika potentially coming to West Ham. And because the window has just opened and West Ham fans are looking for that change in terms of our transfer strategy, it's about bringing players in as early as we possibly can. Now, Onyedika has been on the radar of quite a few clubs in Europe and in England as well over the last 6 months in particular. He's had Champions League football and he really stood out against the likes of Manchester City, etc. in his Champions League ventures this season. PSG were also linked, newly crowned Champions League winners. So they were also linked to looking at someone like Onyedika for bolstering their midfield. And his stats are actually comparable to PSG's João Neves. And that is potentially something as to why clubs are looking at this box-to-box midfielder. Let's just look at a stat that Neves has had. He's averaged in the Champions League 10.9 kilometres per match this season, and Onyedika has clocked 10.5 kilometres. And his passing accuracy is 90.3%, 90.3% throughout the competition. So clubs all over Europe, clubs all over England are paying a keen interest into Raphael Onyedika. And these are the types of players that, yes, I've been calling for West Ham to start looking at that market, the market of the clubs, of the leagues around Europe that aren't at the highest of standard on paper in comparison to the English, Spanish and Italian. And I don't know what they judge that on. They probably judge that on as the Champions League format, how far these clubs get into that. But Club Brugge is a club that West Ham have obviously been looking at over the last couple of years, been linked to several of their players. But this one is just coming around a little bit too more often than not to make me think that something would stick amongst this player potentially coming here. Pep Guardiola, again, he himself highlighted Onyedika's importance when he spoke about the game that Man City played against them. He said the patterns defensively are really good, especially with the holding midfielder and creating overlaps in certain positions. We have to be focused on the way we have to attack and man marking, because I don't know the shape of what they're going to do to create the spaces to attack. And he is that sort of player that just gets really involved. He's a versatile defensive midfielder, known for his strong passing, his ability to break up the plays, willingness to push forward into that attack. And he is classified as that kind of holding midfielder who could also play in the central of defence. So the versatility is there. He's got good defensive patterns, his ability to create the overlaps, which is obviously something that Pep Guardiola has noticed. And he does know how to break down that play and protect in the back line. It's something I do think West Ham are missing, and we know we need to bring that energy into the middle of the park. He's got a high pass accuracy, like I've mentioned. He possesses good ball skills. He controls the ball. He distributes it really, really well. He's very, very strong on the ground, but equally as strong to win the ball in duels in the air. Whilst he is primarily defensive player, he's capable of moving forward and contributing to the attack, because he's very, very clever on the ball. He does commit fouls, but you would expect that from a player of his stature and of what he does. His height's 1.84 meters. He's 24 years old, Nigerian player, has represented Nigeria at international level 9 times, scoring 1 goal. But he has played for Club Brugge 141 times. So he's got a lot of experience of playing for Club Brugge since 2022, scoring 6 goals and 4 assists, just to name a few. Now, his journey to football started in Nigeria, barefoot football on the streets. His dad died when he was really young. He had 5 brothers, and they struggled. They had a struggle, and he was spotted by the Nigerian club, Ebedezi's Academy, who had links to the Danish club Midtjylland, and that they offered a pathway to Europe for Onyedika, alongside Paul Anuichu, who plays at Southampton, and a few other players who have went on to reach the Premier League. And it was in Denmark where Onyedika developed a love of, really kind of developed in his football game, and kind of developed into this all-round kind of midfield player. When he was over there in Denmark, several clubs around Europe started tracking him, AC Milan to name a few, but he chose Club Brugge to develop in his career. As they were looking for defensive midfielders, they made a bid for several other players in the Premier League, but they turned to Onyedika as a player with huge potential. And he himself went out on loan to several clubs in Denmark, but it pushed him to a higher level. And when he returned back to Midtjylland a year after going out on loan, suddenly he was playing European football, and clubs were starting to pay a very, very, very keen interest in him. And really, the rest is history with him. The rest is absolutely history. Now, the rumours are rife stating that West Ham have actually agreed personal details. Like I said at the start of the video, I do not know the element of truth behind that. But rumours are saying that West Ham are going to beat AC Milan to the signing. Now, he has 2 years left on his contract, so Club Brugge are going to be wanting to generate as much money they can for their asset. And they are already trying to look at other players. So I think they're resigned to losing him. And I've mentioned this before, his agency is the same one that Fabianski was connected to as well. And remember, a player that West Ham have signed from Denmark, albeit, when Onyedika played in Denmark for Midtjylland, that's who West Ham signed Winston Reid from as well. But he's made a lot of appearances for Club Brugge, especially in Europe, and really has shown at that level. And we really need to try and get a deal done as quick as we can. So if we do bring him in, Club Brugge finished second in the Belgian Pro League last year. They only were beaten 6 times. They did concede 42 goals and scored 86, but he was really vital to that team. Really, really vital to that team progressing forward. I don't think agreeing personal terms is going to be an issue here. It's just going to be agreeing the fee and moving quick before other clubs come in. I don't want a rinse and repeat of what we've had over the last few seasons, being linked to players and waiting to bite when the chance is there. I really expect movement this week. And I feel like if we don't get Onyedika this week, there's no point in us trying to get excited about him coming into the club, because I don't see it happening if we don't move as quick as we possibly can. Anyhow, let me know your thoughts. Will we bring this Nigerian superstar to the club? Leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Come on, you wonderful Irons.